Johnny Mac, Jody Mac makes us smack a Mac Birds 365. We're lucky enough to get Jeff Kerr to join us on this Monday morning. JK, we reference this enough, so we'll get to the football in a second. Your hobby that you participate on the lanes, do you ever call it kegling?
I never did.
I love that word. I don't know why, but I love the word kegling as compared to bowling. I don't know why. I don't even know where I heard it. But I remember using that phrase when I was in freaking high school.
It sounds like bowling with beer, like a keg of beer.
Yeah, I think you just put out a stereotype of what we bowlers do, Jody.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm pointing the finger at myself, and I haven't bowled. I've bowled 5 times in the last 20 years. But no, I used to keggle, and I call it kegling. If you are more serious than that, Jeff Carr, I apologize to you. And I think you've proven that by saying you don't use the word kegling. If I went bowling when the show was over, I'd be going kegling.
I probably would too, because I always like to have a beer. I'm not
exactly, there you go.
I'm not the biggest beer drinker when I bowl, but afterwards, yeah, you'll find me over there. At least having one at the bar.
Good job out of you.
All right, how we do out in Reno? How'd it go? Before we get to the less important stuff, how'd it go out in Reno?
It was going great till I had to get up, and I'm not even going to make an excuse for it. I bowled terrible in the doubles portion of the event, and I rebound with a strong single. So I had 3 500 series out of 4 out there, which isn't bad considering you're bowling on a pro shot. But when you're bowling with Kyle Troop, Liz Johnson, the best in the world. I don't know if you guys heard of them or not. Kyle Troop's the guy with the fro, by the way. I don't know if you guys seen him, but they're good. I mean, there's a reason why it's like going up against Jalen Hurts in football. They're good for a reason.
All right.
So you were out there with the best of the best, huh?
Best of the best were there this week. Wow. I mean, it's a 4-month tournament, but this just happens to be the PBA off season or their summer break, and a lot of them go out there. It was cool to see them, though. We're in the Silver Legacy Casino, and you could just go up there and talk to them. Ask them how they did, and they're all very polite. For that they couldn't give us the time of day if they wanted to, but they stopped and were able to talk with us. JAKIB Buttriff, sorry, I always say his last name wrong. He's a powerful left-hander. He bowled in a Bowler's Journal tournament with us. It's like a side tournament, and he shot 700. I said, hey, if I ever shoot 700 in this, I might quit.
Ooh. Yeah. So no Ernie McCrackens who are trying to run you off the road or put your
no Ernie McCrackens in this tournament. Although I will say the intros for us when we walk into the National Bowling Center, again, that's like walking in, Jerry World, essentially. It was goofy. They played that "This Is How Legends Are Made" song. I'm like, there are no legends being made here tonight. I promise you that.
Little overkill, huh? Was there, and I promise we'll get to football in a second, were there any incidents with the best of the best hanging out there and at least within your inner circle, you're acknowledging and understanding what they've achieved in their career? Britney Spears show up to try and talk to any of them? Or were there any celebrities that were trying to hobnob with bowling celebrities that you caught a view of and said, damn, this really is a big deal because this person, Taylor Swift didn't show up is the question I guess I'm getting to. She wasn't there to hobnob with your crew.
The Beach Boys were there. Does that count?
No.
Yeah,
they played Saturday night. They were at the Silver Legacy Casino.
Damn.
All right. Yeah, that's nice. That's Beach
pretty
Boys.
Impressive.
Yeah, I'd rather see Britney, but
Oh, I'd rather see Britney too, but she ain't showing up and getting slapped in the face.
I'm sitting home watching the Major League Baseball draft. Curry's out watching the Beach Boys.
Now, what is the difference? I promise this is my last one, but what is the difference between what did you call it? A pro shop and
a pro shop.
If I go 2 miles down the street, I can go to my local bowling alley. What is the difference between the pro track and the track that I'm going to?
So basically, a house shot is how it sounds. Like they'll use like a combination. It's like a light oil pattern, so you can get the ball to hook easier. It's honestly to get people to the lanes and to score. And I mean, I average about 210, 215 on that type of shot, but on a shot what the pros do, which is a lot more complicated, I'm only averaging about 170 on there. So it's a big difference, and people just don't like scoring on that. It's basically like golfing on a basic golf course that isn't hard, and then all of a sudden, you're going to Pebble Beach for the U.S. Open.
Okay. Yeah, a little bit of a difference there, and more power to you, Jay Kerr. Stick with what works for you. Keeps you up in those 200s. All right, scoring. Who's going to be doing the scoring for the Eagles this year? I asked this question to Tommy Lawler when we had him on last hour. I've asked every guest for the last couple of weeks. How is the carries? How is the touches? How is the workload going to break out between the Eagles' backs this year? You want to take a guess at how Sirianni and Johnson are going to spread the ball around to the running backs this year? They got talent there. The question is, how are they going to use them?
If Rashad Penny doesn't get injured, and this is a big if here, I think this would be the guy they want to get the most carries at running back. I think that would be the guy they want. But if he gets injured, then it gets more complicated, because then do you want to use DeAndre Swift as your main ball carrier? Do you want to be a pass catching back, or do you go with Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell? Maybe Trey Sermon finds his way into that mix. But if all goes according to plan, I think it's Rashad Penny will get the lion's share of the carries.
So I've been saying this, and I'll throw it by you, Jeff. If Rashad Penny doesn't get the lion's share of carries, in other words, if they go through the summer, they go through the joint practices, they say, hey, DeAndre Swift's our guy. Is Rashad Penny even here? In other words, can he go to the Anthony Harris degree of being the number one safety one day and off the roster the next, if he doesn't beat out DeAndre Swift?
Doesn't it feel like he's the guy that he's either going to make the team, start, play a lot, or he gets cut?
Yeah,
it does feel like that. And I think Penny could be a very good number 2 running back, but I don't think that's what you brought him here for. I think you brought him here for the guy who's averaging 6.1 yards per carry over the last 2 years and has been one of the most efficient running backs in football when he's healthy. But I don't think, and again, this is, what day are we on? July 10th? If you ask me right now who's the number 1 running back on the Eagles, and if DeAndre Swift could beat out Rashad Penny, I'm going to say no, but that's why we have training camps. I also thought Anthony Harris was going to, and Jaquiski Tart were going to be the safeties on July 10th.
Yeah, we all did. Well, not all of it. After I saw Jaquiski for 2 weeks, I
remember standing next to you at training camp, and you just shook your head at Jaquiski Tart. I'm like, I kind of put where I stood on Jaquiski Tart after that.
All right, let me run this by you, Jeff Kerr, because I've run it by Johnny Mack. He dismissed me. I ran it by my partner, Glenn Macno, on WIP over the weekend. He dismissed me. I ran it by Brian Baldinger last night. He was not quite as dismissive as my 2 partners, but he said, yeah, Jody, I don't think that's happening. Eagles running back includes load management this year. That on any given week, Swift and or Penny could be inactive. Last year was real easy for John. He didn't even have to get the inactive list. Trey Sermon was on it. He knew it every single week. He was on the roster, but he was inactive every single week. Won't be the same this year. It'll be rotating guys that are inactive because they're giving running backs weeks off to try and preserve them, to try and keep them from getting hurt. They added 2 guys who never played full 17-week seasons in Swift and Penny. That there will be load management to the Eagles back. If any team in the league's going to do it, 2 reasons it'll be the Eagles. Number 1, they subscribe to less is more. And number 2, Howie Roseman likes to zig when other people are zagging. No one has done load management in the NFL just yet. Philadelphia Eagles do it with the running backs this year. Are you with me, Jeff Kerr?
Yeah, they'll rest them in week 18 when they have everything clinched.
Okay, so you're not.
I'm not going for that.
Just waiting to see this happens when Nick Sirianni actually is forced to use the word load management during this year. I'll just remember all you guys who left.
Well, the Eagles, idea. I think it was Ed pointed out, Ed Kratz, to his credit, the Eagles do their load management during the week. I could see Rashad.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I could see Rashad Penny being in the veteran maintenance club very, very early in the process. It'd be is the lead back on this team. So I could see that maintenance going on during the week. But once it's game time, I don't think I get Jody's theory from Howie Roseman's perspective, but I don't think Howie would force that on Nick Sirianni. And I think if he did, that would be the first creating ripple of issues. Because Nick Sirianni, look, he's full of you-know-what when he says every game is the same. But that's part of his ethos, and that's part of his getting people on the right page and the right framework and the right mindset. So if you're signaling, oh, we don't need Penny this week because you stink, that would not go well with
not because you stink, because it's his
that's
turn
the way
to sit. He's played 3 weeks in a row. He needs a load management week off.
We playing baseball here, Jody Mack. You know, the
But
aforementioned day off.
Yeah, I have an answer for that. I know baseball's 162 games. I know NBA and the NHL is 61 games apiece. 17 NFL games is more detrimental to one's body than 162 baseball games, 82 NBA games, or 82 NHL games. It's a different animal. I know mass numbers, how many games played. And I didn't play football on any level, but I guarantee you talk to the guys who played it all in high school. What did you feel worse after a basketball game, a baseball game, or a football game? Every single one of them is going to say football 10-1. More pain to the body, more work on the body. That's why if load management is necessary in basketball, I'm sure it's out telling you it's necessary.
I will back you up on this, Jody Mack. So I have talked to, I won't mention his name, but he's a former NFL running back, and he played in the 90s. And he said there's no worse pain than getting a football and right away getting hit.
Well,
he said do it 20, 25 times a game, and you really start feeling it the next day.
Well, yeah. I mean, and there are fans who think they can take NFL hits. But,
I know I can, and I used to do the hitting back in the day. I know I can. I was sore Monday after a high school game.
But here's where I'll say, and Jody, I hear what you're saying. It's designated. But when you get into that 17-game mindset and you need a win, you're going to sit somebody because it's their designated sitting time. Now, maybe if they're the exact same, but if you want, you got to beat the Dallas Cowboys and Rashad Penny's your best running back, but that's the day he's supposed to sit. You're going to tell Nick Sirianni to sit him?
I get that, but you're telling Nick Sirianni to sit Lane Johnson in practice that week. So
practice is different.
Yeah, practice is
different.
Eagles sat Brian Westbrook. I swear he never practiced in a couple of his prime years. They always said it was like a knee injury or an ankle injury, but I remember 18-year-old Jeff being like, "Did I buy that?" Or because he's gonna play Sunday and even play Sunday, rack up with 30 yards.
The reason why they do that load management during the week is so they can play at all costs. Like I don't care if Lane Johnson practices at all, but he's got to be there for the game. He's got to be there for the game. Jason Kelsey got to be there for the game. It's all about being ready for the game. They can do it during the week, but he's got to be ready for the game if he's the guy. That's just the way it is. I don't think that part's changing.
I think the Eagles may be cutting edge in the National Football League and be the first team to actually go down that road. We'll see. I'm probably going to be wrong, but I'm sticking to my outside the box theory because the Eagles do like to be outside the box and would not be surprised if that were the case this upcoming season. I'll give you a prime example if you need one. Week 5, they're playing
LA Rams.
LA Rams. So let's even go further than that. The Rams, we don't think the Rams are going to be very good. The next week they got the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. They're 4-0. You don't think they'd be afraid to give Rashad Penny a week off? He's played well the first 3 games. You got him through the first 4, no injuries. Week 5, go ahead, Rashad, take the week off because we think The run that we're going to get on, Jets, Miami, Washington, and the rest of it, we're going to need you more than we're going to need you this week against the Rams.
Jody, there's a way you could do your load management theory without actually making these guys inactive. Say you build an early lead on them, and Rashad Penny is
all right. So then I'll ask both you guys. Last year, as we just mentioned, 3 running backs basically active every single week. When Sermon got active, the one game where he actually got a couple of carries, was somebody hurt, John?
The Jacksonville game, right?
Jacksonville game, yeah. I'd have to look it up.
Hold on, I'm trying to remember that game now because that was a rainy day. It's hard to remember a lot of things getting really bad.
Somebody had to be banged up because why would he be active?
Right.
But
I was banking on somebody being injured.
Let's see.
Who's gonna sit this year for the Eagles? If you're going Penny and Swift, who basically replaced Miles Sanders, Gainwell and Boston Scott still here. We'll put Sermon on the side, although we continue to note the coach likes him a lot. Let's say he's not in the mix. If they're only going to activate 3 backs every single week, and Boston's got a little bit of a leg up because he's returning kicks, even though that's less important than it's ever been, who's going to sit? How are they going to determine who's going to sit? If it's not load management, how do you make that call this week? Or do you actually think they'll play 4 backs active when none of them really are special team guys other than Boston on kickoff returns?
Well, Boston helps on kickoff, so it helps. That's what I was talking about with Penny. They could dress 4, but here's the problem. And
they could dress 4, but they're going to take 11 defensive linemen and 10 offensive linemen.
Not on
hell's going to play specials?
Not on game day. I'm saying they might keep 11 defensive linemen to keep them on the roster, but a bunch of those guys are going to be inactive. Bunch of offense, the last 2 offensive linemen are going to be inactive. That's just the way it is every week. But here's the thing about Rashad Penny. They paid him $600,000. All right,
guaranteed him $600,000.
Yeah,
they paid him more than that, but he's got
guaranteed him $600,000.
Right.
It's gonna be the opposite with Rashad Penny. If he's the lead back, they're going to run him to the wheels fall off because, and people don't like that terminology and they don't want to, there's still an ugly side of the NFL. There is no way Rashad Penny's going to be here in 2024. None. Either he's going to play to a degree where the Eagles aren't going to be in the mix and he's going to be a superstar and they're not going to pay the position, or he's going to play poorly and they're not going to want him.
Right.
The Cowboys
did run him until the wheels fall off if he makes the team and he's the lead back.
The Cowboys did that with DeMarco Murray his last year. I think they made the decision long before he had the 1,800-yard year. He wasn't coming back, so we're going to run him to the ground. They did it before they paid Zeke. Now, they made the mistake by paying Zeke, but Jerry Jones had the right philosophy there. We're going to run this guy and just run him.
It's ugly, but that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do.
And they're smart by doing that. He ain't going to be on this team after this year.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. Let's say first 3 games, DeAndre Swift shows that he is the best back the Eagles have. They're going to run him into the ground too?
Maybe.
Free agent, right?
Yeah, maybe. Because they don't want to pay the position. They want to.
All right. So if 3 games in, Kenny Gainwell, who had that monster game against the Giants in the playoffs, and people continue to say, oh, he was great in the playoffs. No, he's great in 1 game in the playoffs. The other 2 games, he was nothing special. He might have been better than Miles Sanders, who didn't have a very good playoff run, but people overstate what Kenny Gainwell
look
did
at Miles.
in the playoffs.
By the way, look at Miles. In hindsight, they weren't bringing Miles back. They gave him a career, whatever the carry number was, 1,269 yards. Granted, he can't catch the football. They kind of did the same thing with Miles. $6.5 million. Hey, tip of the cap. Thanks, Miles. Let's move on. Same thing's going to happen, whether it's Penny, Swift. You know, if Swift comes back, that might be a bad sign, because that means he didn't perform that well. So it's kind of a catch-22. You want him to perform well, but if he performs well, he's out the door. I don't know what to tell you. They don't value the position.
I have a feeling the Eagles' 2024 running back is going to be somebody they draft, or like
Very possible.
or a Rashad Penny type signing. Like they'll find some guy in there that had a really good year with a team. If you're a bad team or a team that just kind of underperformed and let the running back walk. I was on the Panthers when the Panthers flagship station today, and we were talking about Miles Sanders, and they feel they got great value for Miles Sanders and what he could do for that offense. They're like, and they said the same thing you did, John. Can't catch, but he can run.
Yeah.
And Miles was the highest paid running back signed this offseason.
Yep.
It
Yep.
wasn't probably
it's
not a deal that he wanted, but
the franchise guys got more, but the truly
they haven't signed yet.
The truly unbettered, but they're guaranteed more. But the truly unbettered back that got the most money was Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders, yep.
Yeah.
So. And it's probably less than what I was told his market value was going to be. A lot of people thought it was going to be 8 to 9 million, then he ended up getting 6.5. And apparently,
if you would have given me that 6.5 number, I said, yeah, the Eagles will bring him back. No, and they still had no interest.
Too. And they said Miles was more than happy with the deal he got with Carolina.
Yeah.
Good on Miles, and I won't root against him this year. The Eagles don't play Carolina, so it doesn't much matter. I was a Miles Sanders fan when he was here. All right, Jeff, let me get this last question in for you. John and I have kicked this around, haven't touched on it in about a week or so. Who is going to be the backup Eagles nickel cornerback?
Ooh, this is a good one. So we're assuming Avonte Maddox is starting.
Right. But we'll also assume at some point Avonte Maddox is going to get hurt because he usually does.
Are we giving up on Zach McPherson, or because now it seems like they're finally putting him where he should be playing?
Yeah, no, I think he's the guy. Yeah, I think he's the backup nickel.
I think he is
a lot of it depends on. You assume they have enough bodies now outside with Calais Ringo. And again, Mike Daly, he'll sign. Please don't worry about it. He'll sign before training camp.
I told someone asked me on Twitter last week, said, hey, Jeff, I know you're on vacation, but is Calais Ringo going to sign? I'm like, yeah, he'll sign. Don't worry about it.
Between him and Greedy Williams and Josh Jobe, they will find somebody who can handle the backup outside corner position, which will enable them to let Zach focus on the slot. And I think they improved themselves that way.
They got some serious depth at cornerback.
Yeah.
They got a lot of bodies.
But hey, as excited as everyone is for Ringo, he was drafted where he's drafted. He's 21 years old. He can run, but he's very raw. Greedy Williams, big name, second-round pick. Cleveland got rid of him for a reason. It's entirely conceivable that Zach is their best outside corner and inside corner as a backup. Still, but they would prefer that Ringo be ready or Greedy Williams or somebody else. Maybe
you don't think one of Ringo or Ricks or Job is going to step up and be the guy who's the number one backup outside corner?
I think there's a chance that it's Ringo, but he's very young. He's very raw. I don't think there's a chance.
I think Job has a good shot to make this team regardless because of special teams.
Yeah, Josh Job's going to be here. Mekhi Gardner's another guy. He's 6'2".
He had a good camp. He had a good main camp.
He's from LSU. So you would think they have so many dart throws that you would think one of the darts comes close to the bullseye at outside corner.
But by the way, John, I know the Eagles coaching staff kind of got on him, Mekhi Gardner, for that interception and the little excessive celebration he did, but I kind of like that out of an undrafted guy. It's saying, hey, look, I'm here. Like, I'm not going anywhere. And sometimes I feel like you have to show your emotions when you're beating the best of the best.
Yeah, he's an undrafted kid who just intercepted the runner-up for MVP. Let him have some fun.
Yeah, he's not going to get a 15-yard penalty for that.
No. Yeah. Let him have some fun. Yeah.
doubting it highly. All right, Kerr, what can we expect out of you on CBSSports.com over the next 2 weeks? Get it when camps open up. Shoot, a couple of camps open up next week on the 18th. What can we be looking for you and your crew over at CBSSports.com as we get ready for camps to open up?
So before I go on vacation, I'll be writing about an overvalued player on every NFC team. Last week I did undervalued before I went on my bowling trip.
Who's the most overvalued Eagle player?
I didn't do overvalued yet. I did undervalued. Okay. Undervalued, I actually did Josh Sweat.
Well, you can tip your hand here. You're going to do everybody on every team next week. You can at least tell us who you're going to have as the Eagle guy here on Birds 365.
I'll tell you what, to be honest, that's going to be one of the hardest ones because it's hard to find
overvalued. I got to do it real quick. Who is the most overvalued? That's a good question.
It is a good question. It is. Like, who is it?
I think the Eagles are a little bit weird because I think some of the younger players are overvalued by the fan base, but it depends on your definition.
Yeah,
like I can't count
on. I usually go by the contract and performance, but who would that be?
Like I'm not counting on Reed Blankenship. Everybody's like penciling in Reed Blankenship. I'm not counting on Reed Blankenship. I can't count on Nakobe Dean. I have optimism, but I can't count on him.
Nicholas Morrow, I ain't counting on him either.
No. So I think it depends on your definition. But yeah, I mean, they have a lot of good. They have a lot of good players. They have a lot of good players.
Yeah,
and
so
I'm just using.
So I usually go by the contract too. So it might be Fletcher Cox, but then again, that's the going rate for a defensive tackle. What he got?
Yeah, he got $10 million. I mean, that's a bargain now.
Yeah.
You could have said that 2 years ago when he had the monster contract, but now veteran defensive tackle, $10 million. That's pretty good.
I mean, the guy I think it is, and just using John and Ed's top 25 Eagles rankings and where I had the guy ranked, they had Slay ranked higher than I did. They had Slay in the top 10. I do not. I have him outside the top 10 for the Eagles for this upcoming year, and his is still a contract guy. Even though they renegotiated it, they did it to bring the cap number down this year. He's still getting paid some pretty good money. I think at age 32, we might see some regression from Darius Slay. He could be their most
possible. I mean, a lot of people are looking at his second half as opposed to his first half and saying he's 32, but it's going to happen eventually. You know, so Bletch, yeah, I guess Bletch and Slay would be, because of the age, would be the two guys.
Age and money, as Jeff Kerr said. Yeah. That's the way you should do
it. I know this is really a reach here, but he's under consider Marcus Mariota. I know they pay for backup quarterbacks, but paying him a lot of money.
Yeah. Boy, his deep passing numbers were just
dreadful.
Awful. I don't think he could throw the ball more than 10 yards down the field.
I think we saw that in camp. I remember someone put it was I think it was a pass to Omalade Zacchaeus, and someone said, "Boy, that's a terrible pass by Mariota." I'm like, that wasn't Mariota. That was Tanner McKee that threw it.
And they'll be able to rekindle their relationship here in Philadelphia this year. JK, always a pleasure, bud. Appreciate you hopping on board. We'll be looking for your stuff on CBSSports.com. Getting ready for the season. We'll get you back here on Birds 365 quick enough. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, sounds great. By the way, I'll also promote this. I got to write 5 NFC quarterbacks under the most pressure in 2023. And I have a feeling Dak Prescott's going to be number 1.
And NFC quarterbacks, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dak will probably be at the top of the list. JK, thanks.
Yeah, sounds great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, here with us on Birds 365. All right, got to come back. Got to put a bow on the show. Mac wrapping up a Birds 365.